Chapter 1. The Bargain in Dust. The desert sun hung heavy over Red Bluff, a forgotten frontier town swallowed by dust and silence. The saloon's bat-winged doors creaked open as Virgil Poe, a battered man with a whiskey-soaked soul, stumbled out. His boots scuffed against the earth, and his daughter, Annabeth Poe, stood at the hitching post, her hands clenched around the fraying reins of their mule. She was 25, with flame-colored hair usually braided tight down her back, and eyes the color of spring wheat. Her hands were calloused from work, and her shoulders had long carried the weight of a father broken by drink and regret. "You can't trade me for horses and liquor, Pa," she whispered, sensing his intention before he even opened his mouth. But Virgil didn't hear her. Or maybe he didn't want to. Inside the saloon, seated alone in a shadowed corner, was a man who didn't belong. His skin was dark, his eyes flint-sharp, and he bore the silent gravity of a man who had known war, loss, and exile. Taza, son of a once proud Apache chief, was no longer part of any tribe. White men saw him as a savage. His own people called him Ghost Blood for daring to live among settlers. He'd come into town for supplies, beans, bullets, and tobacco, not to buy a woman. But what unfolded that night was not in his hands. "I'll give you the girl," Virgil said, swaying with a drunken grin. "She's no good for childbearing, useless to any white man, but strong. Can work." Taz's dark eyes flicked toward the door where Annabeth stood frozen, every muscle taut. Her cheeks were pale, but her jaw was clenched in fury. "She's not cattle," Taza said coldly. "No, she's just a burden," Virgil growled. "You take her, or I'll sell her to the brothel instead." The room fell silent. Then Taza stood, dropped a small pouch of coins on the table, and walked outside. Not for a purchase, but for a rescue. Chapter 2. The Woman and the Outcast. Annabeth didn't speak as Taza helped her onto his horse. She didn't look back at her father, who didn't even come out to see her go. They rode in silence across the open land, wind whispering through the sagebrush. By nightfall, they reached a cabin tucked between tall red rocks. It wasn't much, one room, a potbelly stove, and a small corral, but it was clean and silent, safe. "You can stay," he said simply. "No chains. If you want to leave, go at first light." Annabeth stood stiff in the doorway. "Why didn't you just let him give me to the brothel?" Taza paused, stirring the embers. "Because I've seen women thrown away before. And I was once thrown away too." That night, Annabeth lay awake on a pallet of blankets, staring at the ceiling. The desert was quiet, but her thoughts were a storm. Chapter 3. A Different Kind of Life. Days turned into weeks. Taza didn't touch her, didn't command her. He taught her how to fix the corral, how to track prints in the sand, how to ride bareback. She cooked and cleaned, as she always had, but now there was dignity in it. She had been branded infertile by town doctors after a long-ago illness. Her last suitor had married her cousin instead. Annabeth had believed she would die alone or be used like trash. But Taza never looked at her with pity. He looked at her with truth. One morning he found her on the porch, weeping silently. "I ain't cried since I was 15, she said. "I don't even know why I'm doing it now." Taza sat beside her. "Because no one ever told you you were worth mourning." She looked at him then, really looked, and saw a man not just exiled from his people, but from love itself. They were both outsiders, both broken, and maybe, just maybe, they could be whole together. Chapter 4. Trouble Returns. Red Bluff wasn't done with them. One day as they rode into town for supplies, the whispers started. "Patchy whore," someone spat. "She sleeping with that savage now?" A bullet shattered a bottle on the shelf beside them, a warning shot. Taza didn't flinch, but Annabeth did. Her body trembled not in fear but in rage. That night, back at the cabin, she slammed the door. "I'm sick of letting folks decide who I am," she said. "I ain't owned by my father. I ain't less of a woman 'cause I can't bear young. And I sure as hell ain't ashamed of you." Taza stepped toward her. Then, "Don't be." And just like that, the space between them vanished. Their first kiss wasn't soft. It was a storm, raw, real, and desperate. His hands were gentle but sure. Her breath hitched, and for the first time, she didn't feel empty. She felt alive. Chapter 5. Fire and Blood. Word spread. The men from Red Bluff didn't like what they couldn't control. One night, the fire came. Annabeth woke to smoke and shouting. Flames licked the side of the cabin. Taza was already outside, fighting off 3 masked men with a rifle and a blade. She grabbed the pistol he had taught her to use and fired. One man screamed and fled into the night. Another swung a club at Taza and was met with steel. By dawn, the cabin was half burned and one attacker lay dead in the dust. Taza bled from a deep gash in his shoulder. Annabeth tore her dress for bandages, her hands trembling but steady. "You should have left me that first night," she whispered. "And let the world lose a woman like you?" he rasped. "Never." Chapter 6. Redemption Rides In. Surprisingly, help came not from the law but from Mariah Bell, the preacher's widow. She brought food, medicine, and news. "Town's divided," she said. "Some say you're cursed. Others say you're brave. I say you're married in all but paper. I can fix that." So, under a sky lit with stars, in the clearing beside the rebuilt cabin, Mariah spoke the words, and Annabeth, dressed in a clean cotton dress, took Taza's hands. He kissed her, slow and reverent. "Doesn't matter what the world calls us," he said. "You are my home." Chapter 7. A Child of Fire. Months passed. The land softened. So did the hearts of some in Red Bluff. Annabeth found herself feeling strange, exhausted, sick in the mornings. It couldn't be. But Mariah checked her, smiled, and whispered, "It's a miracle, honey. You're carrying life." Taza knelt before her, kissed her belly, and whispered in Apache, "You are not broken. You were just waiting for love to make you whole." Chapter 8. The Woman Who Stayed. Years later, folks came to speak of Annabeth of Red Rocks, the woman who stayed with the Apache when no one else would, the woman who built a home from ash, who raised 2 strong sons and taught girls to ride and shoot and never fear their scars. Her father died alone in a drunkard's ditch. The town slowly changed, and in the hills above Red Bluff, love thrived where hate once ruled.